Hello folks, welcome to episode 1 of Going Green, the series in which I play Kerbal Space Program, try to recover all of the vessels that I launch, and, well, do it with a little bit of a narrative on the side. If you'd like to learn more about the format of this series, or about the mod pack that I'm using, you can check out episode 0, there will be a link in the description. So with that in mind, let's get started! Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go into our contracts and select a few that we think we can achieve within the first launch. So obviously, the most obvious one is launch your first vessel. And alongside that, we're going to take the contract that will allow us to get money for gaining science from Kerbin, because that's quite a simple beginning, something to really start the space program, give us a good solid foundation for our future flights. Now, when you start a game, the game already has a few contracts built in, as it were. They're already selected, they're already given to you. They're mostly to do with world records, achievements in height and speed and distance over land, things like that. So all of those will be able to give you money without you even having to go in and select them. So we're already going to break a few records with our first flight, which is going to give us even more money to invest further in rockets and in scientific developments in the future. Okay, so here we are on the launch pad. The space program decided that Jebidiah would be the best person for the job here. Considering that he is the descendant of the great Jebidiah from 80 years ago, they thought it would only be fitting if this good person was to be the first to be launched in explosive material straight up into the sky. So, let's go for it. We're just going to grab some science, first of all. Now, we can launch up and we can actually get a crew report when we're up in the sky as well. I forgot to stick some mystery goo containers on here, so... Oh well. Well, we've achieved a world record, another world record. This is a record-breaking flight right here. We are flying into the sky, oh so high. And we've got an altitude record right there. Okay, and now we're falling back down. Now I can use like a lifting body effect to try and effectively steer this as we're approaching. So I can do this a wee bit. Now I have to be really careful. Because if I don't get it right, if I kind of go off too much, I will go off kind of center and I'll flip like this, like's happening right now. Oh no. Right. So there's only so much I can do here. I'm trying to get it back onto the launch pad biome so that when I recover it, I will get 100% as opposed to the 98% if I was just going to recover it off of the launch pad. Now we're not going to make it. Okay. You can see how close we are. The boundary is this line right here. But we just don't have the ability to... right. I suppose I could try and get Jeb to push it. We could try that. Jebidiah was actually going to kind of put himself into the strongman competition, but he figured rocketry was more his style. Oh, look at that. That is brilliant. Okay, so we invested some of our funds in research. Our scientists got to work exploring the possibilities that rockets are giving to us. They looked through some of the old archives. We paid some librarians to go back and look at some of the older patents that we had for the old space program, some of the stuff that might have just been lying around, and we managed to find some pretty interesting things. What are these things called? Decouplers? Apparently those are quite useful, so we researched them, spent some time making sure all the notepads were dusted off before taking that data and putting it into our new computers. We also found some brilliant control surfaces and whatnot. So we're going to try and use that new information to try and make a better rocket. here's our... Oh man, this is going to be interesting. Jebidiah is a little bit hesitant to hop into this thing. So I think instead of sending Jebidiah on this one, Valentina has decided to step up. Do what the guys are too afraid to do. She's going to step up and be the person to fly this monstrosity. And so we launch it out to the runway, hoping that we will be able to return it in one piece. The engineers are still a little unsure of the design, but assure Valentina that if anything were to go wrong, there is a safety parachute installed for the sole purpose of keeping her from dying. And she takes a little bit of comfort in knowing that her life is kinda safe. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Well. Oh dear me. Well, Valentina seems to be a little disappointed in her craft, didn't even really get off the ground. She thinks that the solid rocket motor that she was using was probably a little bit old. I think they've probably just found that one lying at the side of a road or something. And so she decides she's going to try it again, but she's told the engineers to really up the power of the rocket. Okay, this time Valentina is quite happy with the rocket's performance. She's just kind of testing it out, hopefully gonna really get an idea for how this thing handles. The test flight went well. She's quite a bit away, but we're able to recover it. The ship is still in one piece. I would call that a success. So we're rolling out to the runway yet again. This new spacecraft is designed to survey the surrounding landscape. We've tested the ability of the we'll call it a plane almost at this point, and it is able to fly. Valentina Kerman, of course, showing her expertise again. She's ready to fly this into the sky and over to those mountains, hopefully. Okay. So, we have to launch it, obviously, and we pick up a little bit of speed, trying to get some lateral velocity going, and then start to do some science while we're in the air. We didn't get over to the mountains, unfortunately, but we still managed to gather a decent amount of science. So we just keep holding prograde, going faster and faster, as far as we can, and then the engine kills itself, and we deploy the parachute. The parachute has been deployed, and we're safely floating to the ground with our scientific data on board. I would call this flight a success if we land successfully. And we didn't land successfully. That's brilliant. Okay, so we can now recover Valentina. We'll have a truck come over, pick her and the remains of our spacecraft up. Although we are not able to recover the entire thing, the space agency is happy with the fact that because we landed on Kerbin, we can send something out to pick up the debris. Valentina, ever the explorer, has decided to tell the engineers to up the thrust of this new space plane. This new plane, should I say. It's not really a space plane because it's not going to space, but she decided to tell them to up the throttle. So they've boosted it a wee bit, but not too much, and she's ready to fly it once again. A little bit more powerful, and with a few new parachutes and a few new well, kind of girders on the bottom to stop it from exploding when it hits the ground. Valentina has decided to try and go as high as possible, hopefully beating some records. There we go. She's achieved her world record of height in this wonderful plane. She's above the clouds. She can see into the blackness of space. She can even see the curvature of Kerbin at this altitude. At 7 meters per second, this is going to still be quite a rough landing, but hopefully the new skids will allow us to hit the ground at the right angle. Yes! The new skids did their job perfectly. We've landed with 0 electric charge, and yet we still have all of our scientific data. Jebidiah points out to the scientists and the engineers that they haven't actually gathered any scientific data from the launch pad, a place where all the rockets are going. He suggests that they should take out some scientific equipment, analyze the area, and make sure that it's safe to be launching rockets from. So they go out and they take a look at some of their materials bays and mystery goo containers, and in the hopes of finding some kind of evidence to prove that this is of course a safe place to launch rockets from. Of course, the goo doesn't seem to be doing much right now, and the materials bay seems to show little signs of change, although one of the samples appears to be judging you silently. So perhaps it's one of these things where it's quite obvious that this is a good place to be launching rockets from. With that, Jebidiah says that the scientists were of course right and gives them the data, and proceeds to await the next launch. Valentina decides that she's going to take it upon herself to name this new craft, this new wonderful design that's using the latest technology, including liquid-fueled engines that are much more efficient, and engines that use airflow and liquid fuel to create thrust. She's a little bit apprehensive. She doesn't know kind of what's going to be going on here, but she puts faith in the scientists and engineers that the craft will be able to perform and do its job properly. With this craft and its efficiency, she's going to try and set a new land distance record, travelling all the way over to the mountains. Little did she know that Jebidiah Kerman was getting sick of waiting. The space program was supposed to be a space program. It wasn't supposed to be a plane program. No. And Jebidiah was going to fix that. So he took it upon himself to steal this new aircraft and take it out for a joyride out to the mountains and do the science himself. There was no need for Valentina. He was going to do this, and he was going to do it well. Jebidiah has to keep a keen eye for any peaks that are going to slam into him. He has to make sure not to steer himself into the ground. A difficult task for a pilot. Now, I don't usually do all this at the start of a game. Usually I'm more towards the rocketry side. I almost never play around with planes. I find them just a bit too tedious, really. But now that I'm playing it, I kind of find it quite fun. It's quite relaxing, a little different from the usual rocketry hardships that you have to go through, and just it's nice to do something a little bit new. I'm not big on planes, but it's nice. It's kind of relaxing. Now, because the runway in its current state is a bit bumpy, I think what we're going to do is we're going to land before the runway on the flat area and then slowly progress up onto the runway so that we can get our 100% recovery rate. Okie dokie. So Valentina is back in the hot seat. We've extended the fuselage of this plane, because this is going to be doing a much more long distance haul. This plane has to go west. I'm going to try and get it out to the deserts, because I'd love to get some science from the deserts. Oh my, oh my, oh yes, I forgot how unstable this was. Ah, come on Valentina, you can do this. Damn it, 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 no, 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 no. Come on. Come on. Come on, Valentina. Come on. Come on. Come on, you wee sods. Don't die on me. Oh, dearie me. Bloody hell. That was not how I wanted to start that fight. I think because I put in the extra fuel tanks and I kind of messed around with the wings a wee bit, it was just a tad too responsive here. So I think it's a shame I can't take that down a wee bit. So right. So the idea is we're gonna go to the deserts. Bloody hell, this thing is so responsive. Right, let's go back to the... Damn it! Come on. Yeah, we really need to figure this thing out. I am flying upside down. I am inverted. I am actually inverted. Let's fix that. Our goal is to get over here, or if this is desert here, because it does look a bit like it, I can just stop here. But if that's not desert, I can fly over this sea and get the desert science over here. Okie dokie. So we've got the deserts, but we have a ton more fuel. So, where would be a good spot to go with all this fuel? We could make the, we could probably make that. The only problem is there's a massive amount of water between us and that. And if we fall out the sky, we are dead if we hit that water. So, would it be better just heading north and maybe go to the poles? I think that might be a good idea. So we're going to try to fly to the poles with the thing that was only supposed to go to the desert. Oh, the things I do. We can now see the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights in the distance here, coming over the horizon. They're created by radiation that comes in, shoots towards the planet, and then the magnetosphere of the planet protects the vast majority, but because of the way it works, the way it's shaped, it directs a lot of the radiation towards the northern and southern poles. And when it hits the atmosphere, it creates these wonderful lights. The sky lights up red as we proceed further, deeper into the atmosphere. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Scatterer at work. Look at that. That's absolutely astounding. That lighting glitch is now hitting the rest of this. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe we're spilling fuel. Maybe this is oil that's spilling all over the craft. That would be rather dangerous. So we're now at the ice caps, so we can land again. The land seems to be relatively flat. There we go, we're going into our flare. 50 meters per second. About 10 meters off the ground, 20 meters off the ground, sorry. We've got vertical velocity of about 5 meters a second. Pulling up, here we go, we're gonna hit. And there we go. Apparently now our nav ball has also gone into bad mode. It's been taken over by the oil. The oil has dripped down onto our nav ball. Valentina has decided to stop our mission here. There's no way she can continue if her nav ball is broken. It would be unwise to do so. We earned a lovely 48.7 science. We're up to 67. That's brilliant. Valentina, although she's not got any more experience, she did manage to get a few awesome views out there. After Valentina had returned from her trip to the northern pole of Kerbin, she was greeted by celebrations and wine and all the partying, and it was a great time. But unfortunately, Jebidiah was a little bit jealous. He wasn't getting the attention he wanted, and well, he just needed something to keep him going. He needed a rocket. He needed something fun, exciting, thrilling even. And so after the parties had died down, after the celebrations had ended, he approached the engineers and the scientists and asked that they proceed with the rocket segment of the space program. They agreed to it and asked Jeb what he had in mind, and Jebidiah told them about this plan he had, this plan of a rocket that would fly up, hover at about 1 kilometer in the sky, and then return to the launch pad safely, allowing the entire rocket to be reusable. The engineers were fascinated by this and began drawing up plans hastily. After a weekend of furiously working, the engineers had come up with something interesting. They called it the grasshopper. And now this rocket was designed to do exactly what Jebidiah had wanted. It was to go up into the air. It was to hover 1 kilometer in the air and then return to the launch pad and land safely. Jebidiah, as it was his idea, decided to pilot this and be the first Kerbal to fly a entirely reusable liquid-fueled rocket. And so he stepped into the cockpit, awaiting the go or no-go for launch from Mission Control. Oh! Please tell me he's alive. Please tell me he's alive. Oh, no. The test flight was operated by a brave pilot. One that disregarded the rules, one that jumped into danger when he saw it, one that was not afraid of doing what others could not. Alas, though, this was one challenge he should not have taken on. He flew bravely. He ensured that his craft was able to remain in the air for as long as possible. But he did not have the expertise to be able to land this unstable vehicle back at the launch pad. Jebidiah Kerman has lost his life in a tragic accident involving landing gear, a rocket, and an excess of lateral velocity. It is with a heavy heart that Valentina Kerman will have to step up and do what Jebidiah could not. Valentina Kerman, ensuring that the vehicle is steady. She's gone over the staging list to ensure that it is correct. She's happy with the state of the vehicle, has signed all the release forms to make sure that, if anything does happen, that, we can't be held accountable. And she's ready to start the engines. She presses throttle up and go. This is going to be the same test as last time, up to 1 kilometer, hover, and then reduce the height, and then return to the launch pad for a landing. And so we'll just speed this up here because it's, it's quite a long flight really, because I take my time with it. I really don't want to overdo it and accidentally kill Valentina as well. So, yeah, we go up very quickly. The problem we were having last time, of course, was that the landing gear was too close together. We didn't have a wide enough base, and so this tall rocket was falling over, and the cockpit was the first thing to hit the ground and blow up. So with this, we've changed out the landing gear to these girders that have served us well in the past, and we've widened the base considerably, so that it will be easier to land and not topple over, making us more stable when we hit the ground. Nevertheless, it was still a very, very, very scary experience. I was so worried that we would kill Valentina. Whew! Oh, ha ha ha! Oh, dearie me. I was so scared. I was so... Oh. If you could have seen the look on my face, man. Man alive. I am happy we did not die. Oh, wow. Okay, we're not dead. Yes, recover. That was a good test. I'm a happy chappy. What we really need is the ability to hold prograde and retrograde vectors. Once we have that, we'll be able to land no problem. Okay, so the challenge: escape the atmosphere, and we need to get up to 11 kilometers. I think we'll get up to I think we'll do the 11 kilometers first, and then we'll come back down, and then we'll try to escape the atmosphere. I don't want to push our limits too much, or else we'll die like Jebidiah, like the great hero Jebidiah. There we go. Valentina is ready for her proper maiden voyage of this craft. Let's go. 11 kilometers, here we come. We've set the record. I think what I'm going to try and do is beat the speed record as well while I'm at it. We'll still be able to land, I think. I hope. There we go. And we've escaped the atmosphere as well. Now, this is going to be challenging. We have to really make sure that we're going slow enough while we're coming down, or else we're going to burn up, we're going to flip, or we're going to die. We're all three. I cannot see anything. Okay. We're out of fuel, guys. We're out of fuel. We're still going to try and land this, though. I think we're probably going to blow the bottom few tanks. I think we're probably going to lose the engine. Oh. Wow! I cannot believe that. Wowzers. These things are mad. Okay, so we lost some stuff. We lost that tank, and we lost the engine. But all in all things considered, that was a pretty successful flight. And on that high note, I think we're going to call that an episode. This first episode was a little bit longer than I'd like the rest of them to be. This has been about half an hour of fun KSP times. The rest of them will be about 20 minutes, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. But around the 20-minute mark, because nobody wants to sit here for half an hour and watch my madness. So thank you very much for enduring this with me. I'd just like to apologize for some of the kind of juttering and dropped frames throughout the video. I was recording with OBS for the first time, and I haven't really got the hang of the settings, but I think I've kind of figured it out now, so hopefully future episodes will be of a little bit higher quality, and you'll get some smooth gameplay as opposed to the kind of rubbish, juttery kind of nonsense that you've been having to endure for this episode. If you like this video, give it a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. If you feel you have something to add or comment, or you know what to do, post it in the comments down below. And if you want to see more from me or keep up to date on this series, you can press the subscribe button. Oh, that's a lot of self-promotion there. I think we have to end the episode now, because any more self-promotion and I will die. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye bye.